I think that the promise for Knowledge Unlatched is to try to create a healthier ecology for scholarly communication. Those of us in libraries and presses for the past couple of decades have seen a real economic challenge to the continued viability of the scholarly monograph. And what Knowledge Unlatched allows us to do is to collaborate meaningfully across libraries and presses to develop a crowd-funded model to continue really the viability of the scholarly monograph.
I think it's a very interesting business model, and I think it's one that we need to trial along with some of the other business models, the freemium models and so on, because this is an emerging area and we just need to try lots of things until we find the ones that work.
Knowledge Unlatched is a great business model. It's a proposition that has inherent strengths in the way that it brings together publishers, libraries and authors in new models that build value on open access. And I think it's a very significant, robust model that's gaining a lot of traction. So the vehicle is there. I think what we're looking at is the way that we can really now stretch its potential and use it to the limits in imaginative and really innovative ways. And that's the potential. It's the soundness of the business model that gives us the opportunity to realise a far broader vision.
In purely practical terms, as a business model, the consortial approach to the monograph makes eminent sense to us.
Well, I like that it's a very new idea, that it will make a strong impact in terms of making something happen, concrete, but at the same time not being disruptive, not too much of a risk and a challenge, and that it ties in with the routine processes that the libraries are used to anyway.
What we want to learn is whether this model will work, whether it will be possible to engage publishers on the one hand and enough libraries on the other hand. So that's very interesting to learn. And also how the process will work, how it will operate. That's very interesting to learn.
Knowledge Unlatched became appealing to me in the Australian context because although we'd innovated with open access with the scientific literature and with the journal literature quite some time before, I hadn't seen a way to solve the particular issue of humanities and social sciences monograph open access until looking at the model that Knowledge Unlatched presented.
I think that Knowledge Unlatched is a really fantastic opportunity to find out what happens to books within digital landscapes and to find out where they go when they're made open access. And all of our stakeholders are really interested in understanding open access better and in understanding open access and its impact on books more effectively. So we're really approaching this as an opportunity to learn, and we're thinking hard about how to get metadata and metrics right so that we can gather as much information as possible about what happens to digital books, how readerships change, where they go, how they're being used, and so that our partners can use that information to engage more effectively with the digital space.
What we really want to do is try and reuse existing solutions and bring them together in a way that hasn't been done before, in order to get the solution to what we see as the problem, which is bringing everything into an open access arena with the minimum of disruption, but at the same time getting people to make it easy for them to participate.
What Knowledge Unlatched and Awaken could do together is, I think, two things. At least we can make the dissemination better, because the one thing that we do very well at Awaken is disseminating things.
Anything which allows us to deep dive into that content and do stuff with it is something which fits in with modern approaches to scholarly communication and what it is that libraries wish to offer as services to their readers.
I think open access now is becoming extremely important to librarians, and you have to remember that The librarians want to provide the best possible service to their users, and the more information can be made widely available, and the more quality information that can be made more widely available, this is hugely important to librarians.
One of the interesting areas is going to be this reach data or impact metrics, whichever term you'd like to use, which is where you've got content that's held in a lot of different places and people want to see a consolidated view of what's going on with the piece of content. Bringing that together from different companies, different hosting locations, presents a challenge in itself, and then presenting the information in such a way that it's easy to understand, there's enough data there for people to drill down into. That's going to be an interesting part of the project, I think.
Knowledge Unlatched will initially create a viable model for the collective funding of long-form works. If we can establish the correct infrastructure and a business model for book-length works, I think that can be meaningfully extended to more advanced post-monographic kinds of publications.
When I saw this more deliberate, planned strategy for cooperation between publishing and universities through their libraries, I could see that it would solve perhaps this bottleneck, this deadlock, which has been so costly to humanities scholarships over such a long time. So that's why we really bought into it.
I strongly believe that it has the capacity to scale up, but of course it will not have the capacity to cover the entire book market, but that is, as I understand it, also not the intention. So there will be several models, but Knowledge Unlatched will have a good and scalable place in the entire landscape.